we're looking at a tool which is called the Solution Blueprint. You can remember our total solution landscape, which has been important to us now 2 specific times. Firstly, in step 1, where we have used it as a real sales tool and an information gathering tool to understand the IT infrastructure and everything that the customer has. We've used the same concept and tool in step 4 to bridge between IT needs and business requirements. And we've used it to run discussions with the customer so that they understand why we're choosing certain products for certain business needs. And we've used it to document and write down our draft solution. Yeah? We've used it to show our clients what we need to do in software, hardware and services. We've used it to demonstrate to them that although we're not selling hardware, for example, we still need to consider it because in the totality of the solution it's important to us. Yeah? So now we're in step 5 and we need to use our total solution landscape one final time, and that is for the purpose of creating the solution blueprint. Yeah? Now the word blueprint in English is called Blaupause in German. I never really understood what that meant, but the blueprint is a blue sheet of paper where the light shines through, and architects use it to build houses and stuff. Yeah? So what is on that piece of paper goes up on the house, and that's what you finally see at the end of the day. And so the solution blueprint for us is the final proposal, if you like, actually what will be implemented. Yeah? So this will be accompanied by a project plan, a detailed project plan, and depending on your industry, this could be a detailed project plan and a description of what you're going to do to implement a grouping of products and services. Yeah? And so here we have an empty box, and we begin with an empty box because, if you remember from our project management statistics, one of our main jobs in step 5 is to make sure that we're asking a lot of questions to guarantee the success of the solution. Yeah? So, if you like, we have an ethical job to do and a less ethical job to do in step 5. Yeah? The ethical side of the equation is this. Dear customer, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions regarding our draft solution. This is the draft solution in step 4. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about this because this is not complete. We need a load more information in order to guarantee the success of the final solution. Sounds ethical, right? That's the ethical side of the equation. The less ethical side of the equation is what we call, in German, die Arschdeckungsmanöver, which translates into Polish with one particular word called dupochron. And in English, it is called the cover your behind technique. Yeah? Which basically says, dear customer, I don't trust you to implement my solution correctly. So, I'm going to ask you lots of questions now to guarantee that I've written everything down so that if this project screws up, which is quite possible, it won't be my fault, it'll be yours. That's not quite so ethical. Yeah? But it's still very important. So, we've got both of these jobs to do. Obviously, we're going to stay on this side, the ethical side, and go for the successful project completion. That's where we're going to stay. But the other side is kind of important in a multinational world where everybody's getting given a hard time by their bosses for failed projects, blah, blah, blah. And it's not always our fault. Yeah? Very often the fault of the customer as well, for cutting corners and getting stuff done quickly, blah, blah, blah. and changing the scope of the deal within the deal itself, and whatever it happens to be. We've had it all before. Yeah? And that's why we begin step 5, or we begin this solution blueprinting process with an empty box. Because, you know, we've got a whole bunch of stuff here, but there are a whole lot of questions behind it. Yeah? Just as an example, high availability. How high is high? Do you need 24/7 availability, or is 23/7 enough? Because there's a huge price difference with 1 hour of downtime per day. Remote support. How remote is remote? Where does it need to be? Remote support is like in the middle of Australia. It's remote. It's cheap. Training. What kind of training? We'll give you training, send you the book, read it. You're trained. Yeah, but we need training that works. Or classroom training. It's more expensive. Yeah? So we've got a rough guideline here. And it is possible to put a price on step 4, but that price is always going to need to change because the specifics are not there yet. Yeah? So step 5 really is about looking at your draft proposal and then saying to yourself, they've agreed to this in principle, now we need to really identify exactly what this is going to look like and ask a whole bunch of questions. So let's look at a couple of the questions that are here. For software, functionality fit. Does the software fit the functionality needs that the customer has? Customization. Does this software need to be customized in any way, shape or form? Yeah? A simple question, but may need to go to several different people within the organization. What needs to be developed? Is there anything that needs to be developed? Is development a part of the existing scope? Which modules are needed? Maybe it's a package with 15 or 16 different modules. The customer only needs 3 or 4 of them. Yeah? It's possible to sell it in a modular format. They don't need to pay for everything. Less revenue for us, but it fits the customer's need better. Yeah? What will be the impact to current operations? Ooh, that's an interesting one. Most software salespeople don't want to ask this question because it makes everything very complicated. Yeah? They say, oh, no, don't, shh. Yeah? And, but obviously the impact to current operations may be huge. And it's certainly something that the customer, they will need to think about it eventually if it's going to impact their current operations significantly. So you don't want to get to the situation where they turn around to you and say, you didn't tell us about this. Yeah? You need to be in a situation where you can say, we spoke about this. Yeah? We raised this topic. Here's the paper. Yeah? What can be short-bought off? Rollout plans, testing. Okay? Hardware, speed. What speed does it need to be? Compatibility. What compatibility needs does it have? How will it be tested? Yeah? There are amazing stories about the test phase not being done effectively. Yeah? And the price explosion. There's a great story about an oil company in Saudi sending a request for proposal, and in this RFP it said the software company will be responsible for testing, and the software company is looking at it and saying it's RFID technology. It's a little thing that goes on a piece of metal and it sends a signal, and so that you can test the metal around it. Yeah, and the software company is saying, so where's this RFID tag going to go? And they say, oh, on one of the pipes. And so, where is the pipe? Oh, underneath the Gulf. Underneath the Gulf, yeah. How long's the pipe? Well, about 580,000 kilometers. All that, and how many RFID tags will we need? Well, about 3 million. And the software company is going, wow, 3 million. We're going to be rich. We're going to be rich. We're going to be sheiks driving limos and Ferraris and everything. And then they're looking at this line in the contract that says the software company will be responsible for testing. And they're saying, you know, it's going to be a bit difficult for us to test this. And the oil company said, well, you need to take responsibility for testing. And they're saying, but You know, what happens if it goes wrong? And if one of these metal plates, you know, falls off, and then the oil pumps out and causes a massive natural disaster on a scale that costs $80 trillion, then this software company might be in a little bit of trouble. So they decided not to go with this deal, even though it would have made them seriously, seriously rich. Yeah? And, but they were lucky to find this small detail out in the scoping phase. Yeah? Scalability. What's going to happen in 2 years' time? Are they going to grow? Are they going to shrink? Yeah? What's going to be the result of this? So there's hundreds. These are just examples of all of the questions that are possible. There are potentially hundreds of questions that need to get asked. Yeah. Services. How will the project be managed? I've got a beautiful example at the moment of a large pharmaceutical company that has just agreed to buy a large piece of CRM software based on the preferences of the CIO and the CEO, who have been gunning for this CRM software for 5 years. Now they've got it, they're going to implement it, they've bought it, they've signed the contracts, and the CEO and the CIO have left the company and have joined a different organization. Nobody else wants this software. Nobody else supports it. Nobody else sees the point. We have a potential big white elephant coming in to this scenario. I think they're going to be able to do something about it. There are already plans in place, red flags being raised, you know, people with the grey cells saying, hang on guys, our support has just disappeared. We don't have, you know, who will take ownership of the project? Does it have management support? No, not anymore. So, are we going to waste 100 million? Yes or no? Simple answer. So that's very important. The support of what, you know, who's going to support? All of the services area. Who's going to be the project leader? Do they have a brain? Yeah? Do they like you? Do they want to work with this project? Yeah? All of these things are kind of interesting. Who's going to be on the team? How will the user training be done? What skills does the customer have internally? The customer says, we can do this. You heard that before? Because we can do that bit. And you're going, okay. Right. Great. That saves you a lot of money. Yeah? But you will be blamed when they can't do it. Unless it is addressed at this stage. Yeah? Service level agreements. What role will we play, etc., etc. Yeah? A massive thing about IT is the following. IT changes behavior. Yeah? You get a new phone. A new phone. You have to spend 2 hours over the first 2 months fiddling with it. It changes your behavior. You need to get used to new apps, new things. It's just a phone. You change your whole infrastructure. You're going through massive change. You change your processes. You change your software. You change the way people work. And this change process is an emotional thing. People need to go through a certain level of emotional change in order to accept change. What level of change is your product and service going to create within your customer's environment? And are you addressing this? Does it need to be addressed? If it does, then it needs to be addressed in stage 5. Don't wait until the implementation stage, because it will bite you in the neck, in the back. It will bite you. Yeah? So, the killer questions. There are hundreds of them. Go to your project management materials to find more and more and more. There are decks and decks of slides, good questions to ask in the project management's methodologies. And your project managers are the best people to help you understand what the key questions need to be in order to guarantee the success of the final solution.